Mr. Chairman, and to each of you, I say thank you for your service. We are greatly appreciative of the work that you do every single day. Um, General Lyons, let me stay with you there on the cybersecurity issue. Um, Transcom does have a high volume of strategic mobility missions on a daily basis. There are varying levels of detail, and so as we move personnel and equipment in and out of the different theaters, how much of that information is communicated across classified versus unclassified networks?
Senator, I think you're aware that a great deal of our information is moved across unclassified networks, both inside the DoDN and, of course, outside the DoDN. That unto itself isn't the risk as long as we take the proper procedures and we take the proper measures of defense and encryption. But a large volume of our information does move across unclassified networks.
Yes, I think it would be helpful if we had a percentage and kind of a threshold at which we need to classify some information for force protection purposes, but not others for communicating pertinent details to uncleared personnel. And that is an area that, in my opinion, would deserve a little bit of a deeper dive and a bit more attention. General Walters, the NATO 2030 report identifies China as a full spectrum systemic rival. And that is something that I agree with. China is not only a security threat, a national security threat, they are an economic threat. The way they are pushing the Belt and Road Initiative, the way they are pushing debt diplomacy is something that should give us pause, because it all feeds in to the civil military fusion that they practice and live every single day. So since the last time you were before us at this committee and we discussed this issue, what has, and I'm quoting now, your comment, expanding the competitive space meant to EUCOM specifically for competition with China, and how does this affect the work we do, the mobility, the interoperability with our NATO allies?
It has a large effect, Senator, and I think it's an imperative as a result of the way that China conducts activities for us to take a whole of government, whole of nation, whole of military, all domain approach with the activities of China as they bear on the European continent. And we're obviously very concerned with respect to Huawei 5G. We're obviously very concerned with respect to the proliferation of their involvement with seaports and aerial ports. And we're paying very, very close attention to all those areas. And in the information environment, as a nation who supports democratic values, being part of an alliance that supports democratic values, we've told the truth about some of the sacrifices that nations would make if they continue to endeavor in 5G. And we've actually seen a little bit of the turning of the tide with respect to China and 5G Huawei, nations electing to go in different directions. And as you well know, Senator, China or the United Kingdom made that call recently, and we're in a position on the European continent where several other nations are doing the same. So vigilance remains sky high, and there must be an all-domain approach and a whole of government, whole of nation approach to this challenge.
Well, I agree with you on that, and I fully believe if we look at China as a problem set that we need to solve, that we're going to have our allies working with us as we look at this as a problem set. So talk with me for just a couple of minutes, if you will, about any physical roadblocks that may be there or any regulatory roadblocks that would prohibit movement of our forces within your AOR or participation with NATO allies or their working with us on the China issue?
No roadblocks at this time, but
Okay.
what we are anticipating is an increase in our demand to share across secret information lines. And as you know, Senator, we're working very, very hard to make sure that we can open up the aperture from a policy perspective with our NATO allies and partners to be able to share certain classified information. We are achieving success in that area with the assistance of this committee, and I would ask for your continued endorsement in that area to make sure that we can adequately share information so that we can make headway against malign influence on behalf of China.
Well, I agree with you on that issue, and that goes back to the first question for General Lyons about the amount of information that we're communicating over classified and secure versus unclassified and secure networks, and the danger that that may put our men and women who are currently deployed in various areas, that may open them to. Again, we will continue to work with you all on these issues. I've got a couple of other questions that we will submit for the record, but I see Senator Duckworth is there waiting, so I will yield back my time and allow her to get her questions in also.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. Let me